What's going on, guys? Back with another video. So today we have some CTV coverage from Tom Mulcair, who is the former leader of the NDP, and he is not very happy with what Mark Carney and the Liberal government and the Liberal Jobs Minister, Patty Hajdu, is doing with the whole Air Canada strike situation, siding with the corporation, siding with the employers instead of the employees, which is something the Liberal Party has championed themselves on. We are with the workers. So much for that. Now, Tom Mulcair is about to shred them, but before we get into that, please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really does help grow the channel, and I appreciate you guys so much. Let's get into this, and then we'll talk about it after like usual.
Right, let's start with Air Canada. The union has refused to return to work as per the government's order. What do you make of this decision?
I think it's one of the very first big missteps by the Carney government. They blew this one. You have labor relations. That means that there are two sides, as in any relationship. But Minister Hajdu and the Carney government have weighed in so heavily on the side of Air Canada in this one that it's galling. The union raises the issue of the appearance of conflict of interest with the person who's now in charge of the Canada Industrial Relations Board, Maryse Tremblay, that you just referenced in that lead-up. Well, how is it even possible that we're debating that? She spent her career inside Air Canada representing them as a lawyer or as outside counsel. And now she's in charge of the Labour Relations Board. By the way, I'm not taking anything away from her in terms of her skills as a lawyer. But when you've got such an obvious appearance of conflict of interest, you deal with it immediately. Here you're trying to use that institution to force back to the table, go to binding arbitration, and they seem to have forgotten in the Liberal Party, they once knew, that labour rights are guaranteed under the Canadian Constitution. Mr. Carney spent the campaign, whenever he was asked about Bill 21, would you challenge Quebec's laws that are discriminatory to the Supreme Court? He had a very good answer, which is the Liberals are the party of the Charter of Rights. Well, guess what? The Charter of Rights protects labour relations.
Just a quick correction there. They may say they're the party of the Charter of Rights, but let's be honest. There was nothing illegal or respectful of the Charter of Rights when they froze people's bank accounts over a protest that they disagreed with. You do not get to do that and then say that you're the party of the Charter of Rights. Oh, that was Justin Trudeau, not Mark Carney. Mark Carney advised them to do it. So you're wrong there, Tom.
Protects the right to become a member of a union. It protects the right to negotiate and bargain collectively. And you can't take that away lightly, as the Carney government has just done. Now, it's the dead of summer. I'm not sure that Minister Hajdu has a lot of experience in these things, but they've created an unbelievable mess. And by the way, sometimes easy to finger wag and point at the unions. I know Mark Hancock, one of the union leaders from QP who was there. This guy is experienced. He's not a hothead. He had that gesture of tearing up the order. But I think he was trying to get a message across, because Mark Hancock is not somebody who does that lightly. And I think that the Canadian Union of Public Employees has a history, a fine track record of being able to work and overcome great difficulties. Here, the government seems to have set up a brush fire on its own, and it's very difficult to imagine how they're going to be able to get out of this one. If the union is saying, there's no way you're forcing us back, there's no way you're doing this, are they going to start coming up with outrageous threats of penalties? All this is going to be played out before the courts. By the way, Renee, this should have been thought out in advance. And there are some very smart people around Carney, but I guess a lot of them are on holidays right now, because this is one of the worst messes that I've seen them in since they got elected at the end of April.
Absolutely. And, he asked a question there. He's like, well, what are they going to enforce some huge penalties? It's like,
But I guess a lot of them are.
Probably. That's what they do, right? You think Mark Carney's the type of guy who accepts defiance? I just have a feeling he's not that type of dude. Don't you? Now, what's interesting, too, is that, Tom also says, they should have kind of planned this better. They should have dealt with this in advance, and I completely agree. But the problem is, they're not the party of the Charter of Rights. They're not the party of the people. They're not the party of the workers. They are the party of the elitists. And they're going to do what elitists want, and that's take everything they possibly can, while we own nothing and apparently be happy about it, and we just get the crumbs off the table. That's what they're the party of. People still think they're the party of the unions, the party of the workers, but they're not. They've demonstrated it again. They're not the party of the people, the truckers, the working class, the unions, the working people. They're not a party of anything but elitists. That's who they are. That's who they elected. That's who the people of Canada elected. That's who Mark Carney is. This guy isn't a man for the people, and you're about to see his approval rating take a pretty significant drop. I'm not saying it's going to go down to like 20% or anything, but it's going to go. Abacus had it at 50% last week. It's going to go down. I already see on social media platforms people that I know for a fact voted Liberal, and they're not happy with this. Also, some of those people were voting Liberal because they didn't want to vote for the NDP to help the Liberals or keep the Conservatives out. Well, this will help make them go back, which is good news for the Conservatives, because if the Conservatives are going to win, they need the left to have their vote split at least a little bit. It's a very liberal country we live in, especially socially. It's very difficult for the Conservatives to win when you're in a country like that, when you have the mainstream media against you, people spreading lies about you, that you're just like Trump and that you're coming after abortion rights, which they aren't and they can't. It's very difficult for the Conservatives to win, and they still got 41%. They still gained 24 seats. Yeah, the leader lost their seat till tomorrow, when he gets one back, and then on September 15th, he will be back, and he will be hammering the Liberals on this. And the average people will go, oh, the Conservatives seem like they care about the people more than the Liberals do. And you'll probably see the NDP intelligently, if Don Davies has even a quarter of a brain, agree with the Conservatives on this. And applaud Pierre Poilievre for letting Patty Hajdu know that, hey, this isn't acceptable, and you have Air Canada workers who are not being paid while they're at work. They're only paid when the flight is about to take off. And then as soon as the wheels touch the ground, they're not being paid, but yet they still have pre-board work to do and post-board work to do, and they don't get paid for it. That's not acceptable. That should not be acceptable in this country. Right? And if you're like me and you're looking for work right now, you're also going to see a lot of like sales jobs that are commission-based only. Again, shouldn't be allowed. You should have to pay at least a base salary, which is at least a minimum wage. And if you want to add a little commission on top of that, fine. But to have a purely commission-based job should not even be legal. This is a first world country, or it's supposed to be. How could you have what's supposed to be the greatest country in the world, and yet the people are getting ripped off? I know there's people who deliver beer for some of those companies, or DoorDash, they're making less than minimum wage because they get tips. Okay, how could you pay someone less than minimum wage? Why is that legal? Well, who's in charge? The Liberals. For the past 10 years. They've even had a majority at the time. Why isn't this fixed? Because they don't care about you, Canada. They care about themselves, their investments, their interests, and their elitist buddies, and that's it. But I'm really curious. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. How bad do you think this is going to affect Mark Carney? And again, please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it does help grow the channel, and I appreciate you guys so much. That's going to be it for now, but I'll be back shortly with a new one.